the stream where I released those insects before, and here's maybe one of the same dragonfly nymphs that I put in here, but I just saw him and I put him straight back. But look how cool they are. This is a dragonfly nymph, one of those big species. I'm going to put him straight back and he'll walk around the bottom. So we took back some of those tadpoles, a couple of dragonfly nymphs. Oh, he's actually walking there now. And some salamanders. And we set up this aquarium back here at the back of my house. This is the only time it gets any sun, is this point now. It's a bit kind of ramshackle, and like the idea is to see if we can keep these things alive and see if we can get them to metamorphose and develop into adults, and then I'm going to take them back to the stream. So this is all a bit of an experiment, and like I said, I would never normally take wild animals and put them in an aquarium like this unless there was a good reason like this. I'm just trying to save their lives. And there's a few of the little tadpoles sticking on the edge, and there's stuff in here. I've put some rocks and some gravel and some bits and pieces of aquatic plants. There's even a water lily in there, things that I had around here in a little pond that I've got here. I put this piece of wood in here that was in another aquarium I've got upstairs where the goldfish were, so it should have algae for them to feed on. So far so good. They're alive. I put them in yesterday when I made the other vlog that we showed you down at the stream where we rescued them, and we're going to see how it goes. So we'll keep you updated, and maybe you'll get to see some details of here. If you look at the dragonfly, look here, you can see him walking. Look there. If you look there, I don't know if you can see that kind of beast. Now you got the shadow on it. There's a dragonfly nymph, and they're really cool. This species here is probably a species that is about 2 years as a nymph, and then as an adult is kind of blue and black striped, Anax strenuus, I think it was called. It's big, one of the biggest European dragonflies. And when they're dragonfly adults, they feed, and they're predators, and they fly along. You often see them flying along water areas. They need water to reproduce. You can see why. They lay their eggs, and 2/3 of their life probably they're in a nymph stage in the aquatic ecosystem. But then when they're adults and you see them flying around, they're often hunting, and they eat things like mosquitoes, flies, other insects that are flying, and they're pretty formidable predators, and they're incredible flyers. They can go backwards, forwards, up, round, down. They're amazing flyers. So we've got things in here, and we'll keep you updated, and maybe you can get to see some of the details of these things as they start to hopefully develop. But like I said to you before, I don't know, the water may be the wrong pH. Because in a stream, all the materials, or the majority of the materials that these kind of organisms would eat, would be allochthonous. That's a term I used before. It means material that doesn't originate in the stream itself, but is things that fall into the stream, like maybe insects that fall in it, or leaves that fall in it, and then those leaves rot down at the bottom and make kind of compost and make good nutrients and good feeding for these insects. And they're not here, so I'm going to have to add stuff. So, do I know how to take care of these? Well, I can research it and find out and do my best, but will there be enough oxygen in there for them? Will it be too shady here? Will it be too hot? Will it be too cold? I don't know. And certainly once they start to get to the stage when they metamorphose and get legs, they're going to need something to walk on. So I'm going to have to set something up so they can stand on as they start coming out. Because at this point, these tadpoles, the frog tadpoles, and the baby salamanders breathe through gills, branchiae. So they actually live underwater. But when they become adults, frogs can breathe through their skin, and even some kind of species of frogs gulp air, and even they don't have quite sophisticated lungs like we do. But at this stage, they don't need to come out. They can't come out the water. So we'll keep you updated to how things go. And that's kind of cool. I used to have a lot of aquariums when I was a kid, because my grandfather, who was a dentist, but he was a scientist, and he used to, when I was very little, he gave me my first aquarium, and he used to help me take care of it, and he used to explain how if the right conditions weren't, they wouldn't do well. And I had kind of fish in there that lay live young. They don't have eggs, and they're called platies or guppies, and swordtails I used to have. And I used to take care of them, and they used to breed. And my grandfather had generations. When he died, we estimate that the fish that he had in his tank have probably been about the 60th or 100th generation. They've been in there for about 50 years, breeding, having young, and he'd had the conditions just right. All he had was an electric light and a heater, because many of these fish are tropical. The ones we have in aquariums often, these aren't, but they live in areas where it's warm. But he didn't have aeration or anything else, and he tried his best to keep it so that he would occasionally clean it with siphon tube, where you put the tube in, you suck it, and if you get it wrong, it goes in your throat and you eat all the fish poo. And if you get it right, you get the suction going, and you put it in a bucket, and the gravity pulls it down. So he would do that. He would clean it, and he would add food. And I used to go with him as a treat when I was young, little guy, 6, 7, 8, 9, till I was about 11, to a place near Heathrow Airport in the UK called Collinbrook. And that was a place that was like a mysterious, amazing place. And you'd go in and it was full of aquariums, huge place with the most incredible, amazing kinds of fish from all over the world. And we used to go in for a treat. He would take me there, and I would buy a few fish, and I would try taking care of them. You had to get the fish that could live in the same tank with each other. They wouldn't eat each other or attack each other. Now I look back and I realize, this would have been in the early 1970s, that actually this was a really nasty trade. Most of these fish had probably come from Southeast Asia, places like Thailand, Burma, and also from the Amazon and Central and Southern America. And many of those fish that used to get caught by people who were very poor, and it was a way of making money, would then be shipped to places like this and sold in pet shops and for the aquarium trade. And it was a really nasty. Now I look back and I think, God, what, how awful. Because now many of those fish are very rare or extinct in the wild, not just because their habitats have been destroyed or polluted, but because people have collected them to send to people like my grandfather and like me and like others who collect aquarium fish. So of course I don't do that now, but it did help me to start to be curious about ecosystems, because this is an ecosystem, right? I'm trying to create an ecosystem and find the beauty and the wonder of fish, but not a good trade, Anyway, take care guys, and we'll keep you updated with how this thing goes.